As always, your comments and questions are welcome in the chat window for a live Q&A that happens both during and after today's high-intensity tech training. Your clients spend countless hours and a good chunk of change in keeping their networks up and running and optimized as well. Now, their networks, sometimes they go down, but what if your client's network could fix itself? Well, as it turns out, it can. And today we learn how AIOps is transforming network operations with smart, self-healing systems that detect, fix, and even prevent issues often before they happen. Telarus VP of Advanced Networking and Mobility, Graeme Scott, joins us today, along with Telarus Solutions Architect Jason Kaufman, who was here last week. We just didn't let him out after the call. It was an error on our part. But Jason, glad you're back. And we've invited Matt Douglas, Senior Director of Solution Engineering at CBTS, for his insight on this astounding new set of network operations capabilities. Graeme, welcome back to the call and welcome to your panelists. AIOps is a massive game changer for network operations. How are you doing?
Doing great, Doug. As always, great to see you. And, happy tax day to everybody. I know that's not a day that we normally celebrate, but, it's part of it being in this country. So hopefully everybody got it done and got their taxes submitted or will be today. But we are ready to jump in and start talking about this. It's another day and it's another session on AI, right? It's such a big buzzword. Everything going on around us is AI. So I know a lot of our folks out there on the call, if you've ever had to, miss a family event or stay up real late to deal with a customer's network issue, go ahead and drop a 1 in the chat. I know there's a lot of you guys out there that work in that business and have had to take that late night call or got that beeper in the middle of the day and ended up spending some time troubleshooting a network when you did not want to. Well, the good news is those days are coming to an end. AIOps is a powerful tool that we are starting to see integrated within network operations, both within some of the suppliers that we have in the portfolio and within your customers' network. So as Doug said, joining me today here, we've got Jason Kaufman. We're going to go ahead and break down some of the advantages, some of the things that are happening. And then we're going to bring in our good friend, Matt Douglas from CBTS, who's going to talk through what they've done at CBTS, how they are implementing some of those tools within their own network, and how they can help you and your customers do the same. So first off, let's start with an overview. What is AIOps? So AIOps is like having a great AI assistant within your network team to help you troubleshoot and perform network operations. It's where artificial intelligence, machine learning, and big data analytics all meet together to create a fantastic tool for any and all network administrators. So what it does is it essentially automates and enhances IT operations. One of the limitations, of course, of individuals is that we can only take in and act upon so much data at a time. Well, AI does not have this limitation, and as such, AIOps allows your network operations to react to ingest, to track, to see all the things that are going on within your network at any given time and react to those things in real time. It streamlines and makes networks way more efficient and helps those of you who have taken those late night calls, now able to avoid those in the future. So the core capabilities of AIOps: data ingestion at scale. We know AI can do this across a number of different functions. Networks is no different, can bring in all kinds of data points across the network, regardless of where it is, and use that information to make decisions. Correlation, pattern recognition, seeing what's normal, seeing what's not normal, and acting upon those types of things. Anomaly detection, right? When there's something going on that is not standard, that is not normal. When Matt Douglas jumps on the network from Shanghai, China at 2 a.m, we want to know about it. And those kind of things are noted by AIOps. The other thing it does, it really gives us a lot of predictive insights, right? Areas where we know potentially there will be bottlenecks or service issues in the future, and we can address those ahead of time. And then, of course, as Doug referenced at the beginning, the ability for networks to self-heal, identify issues, and fix it on its own. Pretty crazy. So Chandler, let's go ahead to the next slide. I'm going to go ahead and bring our man Jason Kaufman in here. Jason, one of the things we are seeing a lot today as we build out networks and do network architecture, and I think this is something you talked about a lot at the IT Expo down in Florida, is that traditional tools, the tools that we have used in the past, are really struggling with today's modern networks and everything that's going on. Modern networks today are highly distributed. We've got cloud, we've got hybrid, we've got edge. They're very, very complex, and the tools of today are struggling, hence the need for AIOps. So talk a little bit about what you guys are seeing within the sales engineering team.
Yeah, a lot of it is just around what you're talking about, distributed networks and many different components and overall complexity on how to manage all of this stuff. You have strategic vision coming down from the top on, hey, we need to implement this, or we need to have this cloud strategy, or we need to do this to keep the business going and allow us to scale. So IT teams are trying to keep up, and how do you manage all this effectively? I mean, most of them aren't going to get the budget to add more headcount as they're trying to scale and add all this infrastructure and complexity. So how do they do this and manage it to where the business can still have continuity no matter what they implement within the infrastructure? So one of the biggest complaints we get is, hey, I want to have visibility into everything under one single pane of glass. But then also I need help to see what's plugged into what's the dependency here, and then ultimately what can handle that low-hanging fruit to where when that issue goes wrong, either can it self-heal on its own and perform the remediation and I come in and I just know about it so I can tell my superiors, or does it give me some troubleshooting steps? Traditionally when you have an IT network, when they invented the OSI model, it was basically a guideline on, hey, what are the things you want to attack first to get through layers 1 through 7, give an order of operations to get back up and running so you have some form of methodology, talking about the physical layer. Is it plugged in? The data link, are you getting lights? Are you, the layer 3, are you getting the IP addressing? Is the network able to talk to each other? We're going all the way up to the presentation and application layer. How do you do that effectively on every single issue, and where do you start? I mean, if you have something that's so distributed, it may be something you can't get your hands on. You have to walk somebody through it. Have you ever tried walking somebody through something that requires a little bit of technical competency from, multiple hundred miles away? Kind of frustrating.
Yeah, I have to do that with my parents a lot, even just trying to get the Netflix thing going. And so I can only imagine how hard that would be as a network engineer trying to walk somebody through, a retail establishment or something like that. So these things have a ton of advantages. Obviously, chief among those, Jason, spotting issues faster than humans, right? I mean, we've got, the AI can watch this stuff 24/7, 365 days a year, always on guard, always watching, always looking for anything unusual, slowdowns, weird traffic patterns, and there's no waiting for a ticket, right? A lot of times it'll open that ticket immediately and go ahead and address the issue without human action at all.
Yeah, create the ticket, perform the action, document the notes, close the ticket, so it's all referenceable. But doing that on behalf of a human that, is not up 24/7 or, is going to be on holiday, there's a lot of things that having a machine handle this stuff on somebody's behalf is make things way better for the environment.
Yeah, and as we know with a lot of AI models, right, its ability to learn over time, I think, is a huge advantage for this thing. It starts to know what is typical within your organization's network, the patterns, the things that are happening, and it starts to look for things that are unusual and can address those, and also areas where there may be a breakdown or a future breakdown by understanding where things are. Hey, sometimes it can even reroute traffic around problem areas and address those. Jason, talk a little bit about natural language models, because I think that's sort of what you were touching on at the beginning when you talked about trying to troubleshoot across a geographic area. This to me is really, really one of the coolest aspects of this. As a guy who's not a big coder or not really overly techie, this has got a lot of appeal. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, just imagine you walk into a new environment or you get a new piece of equipment and you're not familiar with the command line interface that comes to it. Usually you have to type in all this different, you have to type in the commands, and then you want to tell it what you need it to do. And it requires a lot of competency on how to communicate in a Linux platform. A lot of them are a little bit different to where not everything runs in the Cisco language. Palo Alto has their own. Juniper has their own, but they kind of mimic a little bit, so somebody could sit down and sit holistically across them. But how about if I just come in and I use human language and I say, hey, I want to segregate this network and put this many VLANs, and I want to use this IP address scheme, and I'm just using it by typing like I'm sending a love letter to somebody, and then I submit it, and now this thing builds it on my behalf, to where now I'm, instead of putting hours and days within building an entire network and ensuring that everything is configured correctly, now I'm doing it within, a matter of minutes and having the system design that for me. So not only from using the natural language models, the natural language processing of building something, but it's also taking that anomaly detection and giving that, hey, here's our recommended steps that you could take to troubleshoot, to where now you don't have to have somebody with multi-years of experience managing a network. Now you can have somebody that's pretty greenfield come in and they get everything spit out to them to where it's easily to congestion and understand. So it's really revolutionizing network management holistically, as we're starting to see resources get constrained and what type of resources can be used for this stuff.
Yeah, that's great. And so what I'm going to do here, just go ahead and bring in Matt Douglas. So Matt joins us currently in the Gulf Shores of Alabama, but by way of Indianapolis. And I think we've also got Katie out there working the chat. So if you guys have some questions, I think Katie's out there answering a few of those. So welcome to you, Matt. Even though you didn't award the victory to Sam and I in the karaoke contest in Vegas, it's great. It's great to have you here. So thanks, Chandler. Go ahead and switch to the next slide. Matt, you guys have done a lot of the heavy lifting for the AIOps within the CBTS network. Talk a little bit about what that process looked like, how you guys integrated some of these technologies into what you guys are doing at CBTS.
Yeah, no, it's across the board, not only within our internal systems, but then the products that we represent and the managed services we build on top of those. Really, I think all of us are starting to take a look at our customers kind of for a consultative approach of what are the applications they're running across these networks? What are the platforms they're running on, whether those platforms are in their data center, in a IaaS structure, if they're in a public cloud somewhere. And then, what are the operations? What are the customer benefits that they need, right? And AI is affecting all of this. And you guys kind of have mentioned quite a bit of that, of AIOps ability to ingest this massive amount of data, detect anomalies, build playbooks, kind of pre-designed playbooks. One of the great things about these new technologies, and we're going to talk a little bit on the network side, is that you can literally build quality of experience metrics. Same thing happens on the SD-WAN side now, and the SASE side with some of these newer platforms, of really being able to build a quality of experience metric, because it's not so much about that my network can route a packet across a particular network, but how is that application running for that user, whether they're working in the office, they're working from home, or they're working from Starbucks. And so these AIOps abilities across network, across security, across CX, even personal productivity is just really changing how quickly we can detect issues and how quickly we can respond. We talk a lot about the mean time to detect and the mean time to respond.
Yeah, and I think that's, a game changer for your network operations team, right? And obviously has made the processes so much more streamlined and efficient.
Oh, there's no question. We're going to talk a little bit on the Palo side, some of the tools, but literally the ability to, like in our network, you take a look at CBTS. CBTS is a couple thousand employees working from a variety, probably 10 different countries. We have embraced the entire AIOps model in our SOC and our Security Operations Center that not only manages our core, but also manages for customers. And we literally, for our instance, we see some like 5 million events that happen a day that are automatically correlated down to about 150 issues that need to be looked at, but looked at by AI, comes down to somewhere typically 5 to 10 issues that need to be investigated by a human, and those are solved in a couple hours, where it used to be that amount. You mentioned earlier, this is a massive amount of data, and the data coming from everywhere. Like, we as a user now, every user is a firewall. I'm working from Gulf Shores here, but I'm working on a CBTS platform that AIOps is watching everything that I'm doing, the application I'm going to, et cetera. And these are really game changers on how quickly companies or managed service providers like ourselves can deliver the results, the business outcomes customers are looking for, and it's just slash the mean time to detect and the mean time to repair across a variety of different environments.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Now, Chandler, if you go ahead and move us to the next slide here, Matt, there's a process that you guys went about when you made this change, when you started implementing these types of tools within the network. Maybe touch on that a little bit and what the tech advisors here on the call are going to be sort of some of the things they want to look for within their customers when they start to have conversations about maybe incorporating AIOps.
Yeah, absolutely. The AI conversation, it's exploded for us, right? We've all been trying to figure out in the last year, how do we respond to the need, right? And we have kind of put it in three categories, if you would. One is talking about what are the best of breed AI embedded products out there, right? On the security side, we're a big Palo shop. We're going to talk about that. On the network side, we're a big Juniper shop. Those are really platforms that have really embraced the AIOps capabilities. And then, of course, there's all sorts of UCaaS and CCaaS providers that the new kind of AI tools around sentiment analysis and automated AI agents really change the customer experience. So what are those best of breed solutions out there that use AI driven and AIOps to deliver better results for customers? Then I think there's the whole Microsoft Copilot and personal productivity thing is a huge opportunity, I believe, for partners out there to at least explore and talk to with their customers. People are trying to figure out, how am I going to use Copilot? I'm going to use Copilot to either improve my own productivity, let's say as a sales engineer or salesperson. How am I going to use it to improve my productivity in the finance department? How am I going to then maybe use Copilot to build customer-facing tools that are going to increase the customer experience? And then when we're talking about doing those things, AI acceleration and data readiness is a huge issue, right? And you've got, I think in the Telarus portfolio, you've got a number of providers that can help people start to take a look at their data, organize it properly, tag it properly, and get it ready for implementing some of these large language model solutions, these automated AI agents. And there's a lot of work there. One of the things that we do, and Mike, we're going to talk about a little bit, is we do this one-day AI readiness assessment where we come in and show the customer kind of the art of the possible. Oftentimes it's around Copilot. Let's do that the first part of the morning. And then the next part of the afternoon, we're then taking what's the low-hanging fruit, either internally or externally, we can help your company. What's interesting about this, when you start to open the Microsoft or this AI readiness conversation, we hold these sessions, and it ends up like 3 to 5 opportunities within that customer to help them accelerate. So getting in this conversation of AIOps, of Copilot, of AI readiness and data, bringing the right partners in, which you've got a number of great vendors, it really opens up a whole plethora of new opportunities inside that customer that was hard to see before.
Hey, Matt, quick question. So like when you guys are doing that art of the possible conversation, what are some of the biggest pain points that, transition the conversation into an AIOps deployment? Like what are you listening for that type of engagement?
Sure. And I think there's kind of almost a difference between looking for the AIOps kind of conversation and then looking for the AI enablement of workflows conversation, deploying maybe AI agents in a customer experience environment, or deploying AI and Copilot from a productivity standpoint. So on the AI ops side, it is really understanding and kind of listening for how overwhelmed they are in their help desk, their internal help desk, how they're handling these problems. Even simply asking things like, well, okay, so you guys are managing your security environment, et cetera. What is your mean time to detect for problems out there? What's your mean time to respond? Well, oftentimes there's like, I have no idea what that is. Do you have a full-time SOC that has a full-time SIM that's gathering all this information, has built playbooks to respond automatically, et cetera? So on the AIOps side, it's a lot of times about how are you running your network? What are the issues you're having? Even something as simple as Wi-Fi. One of the things we've seen recently, right? COVID, everybody moved home. We're working from, gigabit connections at our home. We got great bandwidth. And all of a sudden, all of us are coming back in the office in the last year. And we're coming back to networks that were built pre-COVID, networks that are 5, 6, 7 years old. And so we're finding out as people now are having to revamp their Wi-Fi networks. Well, that now there's a whole group of new AI-enabled tools in how Wi-Fi networks are managed and built out and build quality of service metrics, et cetera. So listening to, I think, just asking what are some of the challenges even coming back to work has been, these new AIOps tools can really effectively help people run their networks better.
Yeah, and I think we have a really good example coming up here, Matt, that you're going to talk through a Wi-Fi type deployment that you guys did. But folks on the call here, it's very easy to see how all of this stuff starts to blend together, right? We're talking a lot about data readiness here, and I know for those of you who've attended our AI and tech summits, Kobe does a whole section on that. Really, really good. He just came out with a data readiness playbook that you can get out there, so that's very important. And then we heard a lot about security as well, right? That network kind of blending with cybersecurity and all the things going on there. So AI is really driving us into a larger conversation that crosses so many of these technology swim lanes. And I think that's really cool. Chandler, go ahead and move to the next slide here. Matt, touch on this a little bit, because I think we've got a couple of different models here, how we're looking at AI internally versus externally. So maybe touch on this a little bit, and then let's just transition right into a couple of those case studies that you have there.
Absolutely. I think this goes back to your partners out there as you're beginning to have an AI conversation with a customer, really understanding or talking to them about where are they see some AI opportunities internally focused. Like, I mentioned Copilot as a tool, right? Copilot in our world is just an incredible new tool for us sales folks, for marketing, for finance, legal. It's improved our efficiency. It's improved the ability for us to deliver accurate answers, et cetera, right? And so those tools around Copilot and the internal focus of that's been a pretty game-changing thing for us, and you're going to see that across your customers. Then when you talk about it, this internal focus as well, which also kind of fits externally, but in the operations of your network, your IT people, when they're servicing that network, when they've got their SOCs, their NOCs, et cetera, what are some of the business outcomes they're trying to achieve that AI and AIOps can help solve, right? Well, then you go external focus, right? What are the things that they're trying to build as far as giving them competitive advantages against their competitors? What are the changes that they can make using AI, to help deliver a better CX experience, let's say, right? Or what are the changes that they could make inside their website, or tools that they could build AI bots to be able to answer questions quicker for customers. So it's really, I think when you talk to them, we went through this internally. We went department by department and said, okay, what are the internal things you think you'd like to get done? What are the external customer facing things you'd like to get done? Let's prioritize those and then start to work down the list. And we're in the middle of that every day.
Yeah, and that's a great approach, I think, that we can use with our customers as we have these conversations and start that AI journey. What are we trying to accomplish internally, and what do we need to do outward facing? And obviously, here's where you see a lot of that blending. CX is more of an external facing tool, although some of the insights it provides are good internally as well. Chandler, next slide here. Matt, quickly touch on what's going on with the Jupiter Mist product. To me, this is a pretty cool product, and we do have a number of suppliers within the portfolio that offer this, but this is something you guys have leaned into fairly hard. So just touch on this real quick, and then obviously I think you got some stuff on Palo here as well right after this.
Absolutely. So for us, we've always been a big managed network house. We started delivering Meraki going back 7-8 years ago on the channel. A number of us service providers did. Basically, Juniper started because a group of people left Meraki and said there's a better way to build a mousetrap. Let's build a better microservices cloud environment. As they started to do that, then they purchased a company called Mist that had really kind of perfected an AIOps solution in the Wi-Fi world. And Juniper now, when you look at the last 4 years of Gartner's, they are the complete upper right-hand leader of anything to do with wired or wireless networks. And Jason had talked about that earlier. They've basically taken AI and proprietary large language models around this and been able to build an interface that says, hey, I want to deploy 6 switches and these voice VLANs, and I want you to fix that. And I do it in a natural language. This AI and machine learning intelligence then is constantly monitoring the network. And I talked about kind of building quality of experience alerts. And so it's taken a look of, wait a minute, I got a DHCP pool that is starting to fill up, or I've got a certain number of users that couldn't access this, that couldn't get this Wi-Fi access point. And not only can it do some repair, but if it can't do repair, it can automatically do Wireshark captures and open a ticket. Jason was talking about that. So the ability to basically design a network from the get-go using some quality of experience metrics and having this AIOps overlay be able to fix, if it can't fix, open tickets and do Wireshark captures. And then when people want to manage that network, being able to even do it with natural language. And radio management's becoming bigger and bigger. Radio management, the Wi-Fi world used to have to be a pretty manual process. Now they've overlaid machine learning and AI to be able to take a look at radio outputs and realize, wait a minute, this particular access point has got too many people on it. We need to move people, or it's got too big a power on it. We need to reduce power. So even the management now of these Wi-Fi networks can be happening in real time.
And Matt, one thing I wanted to add is one of the first demos I've seen of the Juniper Mist platform was a live customer view where they had an issue with communication between two devices, and it actually pulled up a picture of the device's connection and the wire connected between them, the Ethernet cord, and it would break down the Ethernet cord into the specific wires in there and show you which one was bad. And it said, hey, replace this wire, and that resolved the issue. Just imagine how long of troubleshooting an IT team would have to do in order to figure out that one specific wire within an Ethernet cord was the culprit. So it's just really cool how much telemetry you get with these platforms.
And it's drastically reduced ticketing, so it makes us easier as a managed service provider to support that customer, et cetera. I mean, there's literally stories out there of organizations seeing a 10-time reduction in tickets across these kinds of environments. So it's pretty impressive.
Chandler, let's go ahead and move to the next slide. Touch quickly on what you guys are doing with Palo as well, Matt. And I know, Jason, you've got a lot of experience with this as well. You've been digging into this model quite a bit.
Yeah. And you mentioned this earlier, right? The massive amount of data that needs to be correlated to build automated playbooks to respond quickly and resolve quickly. It just can't be done by a human anymore. And there's a number of providers, I think Palo's way up there in the lead, that has basically built a model that can take inputs from not only Palo software, Palo devices, but also from a variety of different inputs, other firewalls, other EDR platforms, et cetera. And the idea is being able to take all that massive amount of data, stitch it together, correlate it together, and drastically improve the mean time to detect and the mean time to remediate those problems. As an example, Palo, 16,000 employee company, Palo, globally, right? They run their entire SOC with 13 people, okay? Jason, I think when you and I did an event, we were talking about 8. I found out later that they've added a couple more as they continue to grow. But it's amazing that you could build a SOC of that size, that many employees, and be able to run it with 13 folks. And so the idea that these platforms now can take this massive amount of data, stitch it together, bring it down into actionable things that humans can respond to quickly is revolutionized how you run a SOC and how you respond. And you guys mentioned earlier these distributed networks. I think I said it earlier. We are all now, every one of us, a firewall. No matter where I'm working from, it's a firewall, and we better get that data correlated from everywhere and be able to respond quickly. And AIOps has been able to do that in the security world, pretty impressively.
Yeah, I love that. And this is, again, such a great product. And again, where you see the kind of merging of network security, see all these different aspects of a business all come together. The network is the underlaying foundation for all of this stuff. And, it's really impactful when you can get AI operating in the right ways and helping that team streamline. Matt, a couple minutes here. I want you to spend a little bit of time. You mentioned this, you sort of teased it earlier. Chandler, next slide. Talk about this real quick. This is available to our partners on the call here, and of course, any of our tech advisors, something that you guys can help out with. We had a lot of questions in here about, hey, where do we start? How do we have this conversation? You guys actually do a little one-day seminar where you can walk them through. So talk quickly about this. And then I think I want to open it up, Jason. Let's talk about where we think we're going with this. Like, what's the next iteration of this look like?
Yeah, so this is a one-day seminar that we'll do with a customer, either in person or virtually. We do it at no cost because in the end, it actually opens up so many opportunities for the partner and for us. Typically, it's focused around Copilot. Mostly people are Microsoft shops. Yes, there's some Google shops, but mostly people are Microsoft shops. They're trying to figure out how to use Copilot because it's not cheap. It's a $30, per person ad typically. And so the first part of the day is showing them the entire Microsoft environment, some use cases, kind of the art of the possible up top of what are these tools and how are people using it, across the Microsoft portfolio. And Microsoft continues to add, like they just added a product called Fabric, which is all about kind of this data correlation and organizing data, right? So the first part of the day is showing them some of these tools. And then the last part of the day, the second half of the part of the day, if you would, is now let's sit down and talk about what are some of the kind of that other slide we had, or what are the internal things that I want to work on with kind of internal efficiencies and operational efficiencies. What are the external facing things that maybe I want to figure out, can I use AI to make more money, right? And help them spend a couple hours, 3-4 hours identifying what some of the, maybe that low hanging fruit they can attack next. And then we give them back a report, on what that is. And as I said earlier, we've done this now probably, 20 times in the last 6 months. We're literally finding 3 to 5 new opportunities in some way, shape, or form when we sit down and kind of each of us open the kimono and take a look at what's there. So this has been very successful for us.
Yeah, this is good stuff. And folks, if you guys want to sign up for this, Katie's in the chat, as I mentioned. Just go ahead and let her know. You get you some information on how you can participate in this and get this going. So, Chandler, let's take the slide down here. Just go full screen. Couple of comments here. I mean, self-healing networks. Zach made a comment in the chat about robots fixing wires. Kaufman, where are we going with this stuff, right? What's the next iteration of this look like? It's moving so fast. Like, what's next?
I mean, the AIOps is continuously learning. So we're going to see more playbooks, more automation from a software level on not only what the system can self-heal, we're going to see that adapt and get more, lack better word, healing. But ultimately, there's still a human in the loop. And if you follow the news, you see all these companies that are trying to push out robotics. They're all getting super cool. But we're probably a year or two out from actually having, removing that human in the loop and having an actual robot come in and do all the hardware components. So if you need to unplug a cord and replace it, cool, it can do that. If you need to rack and stack a new switch and replace the hardware because everything went down, cool, it will physically be able to do that. So I mean, saying 1 or 2 years for that holistically may be a little little aggressive, but I mean, I think that's the future iteration of it, is the software is going to work with a hardware component and completely augment a human that has a human requirement in order to fix a lot of these issues.
Let me add a little bit to that too. I think we're going to see more and more focus on application performance. These networks now are starting to be able to keep track of the actual application I'm using, where it's running across the network. As you mentioned, you saw Juniper being able to say, hey, it's the problem with that cable. These technologies can even now start to say, okay, I'm running that application from my desktop. I'm working from home, and I'm trying to get to such and such website or SaaS application across the other end of the earth. Being able to detect, no, the problem is actually my laptop. The problem is in my Wi-Fi locally. The problem is in the middle mile. Palo's got a product called ADEN that can tell this. Cisco's got a thing called Thousand Eyes that can do a lot of that work. And so it actually be able to keep track of application performance, even when I'm going to the other end of the earth on the SaaS, and being able to alert on it, have intelligence, fix things, et cetera, in the middle, wherever those parts are controlled by AIOps. And so I think part of that journey here is we're going to see more and more focus on application metrics and these AI and AIOps tools being able to fix things to guarantee performance of applications.
Well, we'll know we've reached there when one day it's a robot Doug hosting the call and not Doug himself. So,
there you go.
Doug, what do we got out there for questions? Obviously, a lot of information we threw at the folks here today. A lot of good questions, a lot of good interaction. What do we got in the chat there? Anything we want to highlight here with the team?
Absolutely. And there's not a robot out there yet that's got hair like this. So it's just not going to happen. Matt, great presentation, Jason and Graeme, as always. And I want to thank Katie, too, for expert work in the chat. One of the themes that keeps coming out of some of the questions is, it seems like we're seeing another one of these shifts in the way that we work. IT administrators, network administrators, seems like much of what they have done in the past can now be done by AI, but it seems as though the shift in what they're doing is to watch the AI. So what do you recommend beyond the technology that network administrators and others involved in this can do to help prepare themselves and continue to qualify themselves to be able to function well in those new roles?
I would say start off by, oh, go ahead, Matt.
No, go ahead, Jason. Go ahead. Let me think about it.
So I think the first thing is comfortability. So learn that AI is not 100% here to replace. It's here to augment a lot of the tasks that you need to do that are mundane, that, troubleshooting that takes you out of the strategic mission that you have to keep business continuity. You get pulled away to do something because an incident happens or something like that. Figure out where AI can help you solve these problems, whether it's using the human language to create a network or optimize it, or looking at the user experience on the application level. Learn what tools you have access to make yourself better and more efficient, because the tools are there and somebody's going to be using it, so you might as well do it as well. It's the same thing that we talk about whenever we're using like large language models for Copilot implementations and that type of stuff. It transitions really well into the network management realm too.
And I think it fits incredibly well with what we all do in the indirect channel, what partners are doing for customers. We're walking into customers and saying our job is to bring you a group of managed services that alleviate the day-to-day quagmire you're in, to elevate your conversation, to start working on business analytics and other things that make your company money and give you a competitive advantage. Let us get out of the day-to-day quagmire. That's what we're selling with managed services as well. So these capabilities are only going to help us managed service providers build better products that can be sold well in the channel.
Yeah, and I think it's just about doing more with less, right? I mean, if you think about, so many of us here work in that SMB space, and a lot of these tools and functions, complex network engineers, that's something that a lot of SMBs can't afford, but maybe, they can bring in AI here to help them with that. And so what you used to have to do with 10, 12 employees, to Matt's point earlier, you can now do with 8, or with 6. And I think that's really the power of this model and these technologies.
Jason, you mentioned something earlier on that I wanted to touch on as well. You talked about it's great to have the visibility under a single pane of glass, but you also need the reporting of the issues. And this is where I tie it into the last question, the troubleshooting steps. It seems to me that the AI can assist those network IT and other managers in knowing what steps to take to be able to discover further or find more information that they need, or what steps and processes they need to follow to ensure that they're completing their responsibilities accuracy. It really is a tool to be able to help them.
Yeah, so as this thing continuously learns, it verifies issues across every single customer base within these platforms. And it learns, hey, this is a common issue. We're seeing it across here. Here's what the steps have done in order to remediate it. So now we're going to create a playbook or a recommendation on what to do next to optimize that employee's troubleshooting steps. We're seeing the same thing in the cybersecurity space when it comes to like the SOAR now adapting into the SecOps, to where you're automating that triage and the steps to perform in order to remediate everything. That's where the troubleshooting comes in, is because instead of coming in and saying you got a blank slate on, okay, I see this maybe is a potential issue, here's the data I have on it. Now you're getting steps 1 through 5 that you can try, you get this list of the steps that the system already has done, but then now you have steps 1 through 5 that you can try in order to remediate this, that the system wasn't able to perform.
Yep.
Great answer. Guys, we are out of time. I've got to move on, but Graeme, finish it up, summarize this up for us, and thank you to all of you for a terrific presentation.
Yeah, thanks so much, Matt. Really appreciate it. Jason, as always, appreciate your input. Folks, this is an evolving space. We're going to see so much more coming down the line here. We could probably come back 6 months from now, talk about AIOps, and it would be a completely different conversation with new things in there. So stay tuned. This is evolving. The great news is these technologies are here to help your customers be better at what they're doing. And as Matt said, get them out of the quagmire of doing some of these things. And as I started the thing, we want to make sure that you're not taking those late night calls anymore, missing those family events. AIOps is here to help you do that.
Thank you, everybody.
And last word, Matt and CBTS, great job in Vegas with the karaoke idol. Let's bring Graeme and Sam out here one more time for one more chorus. Come on out, Sam.
That's right.
There's a few here that dispute the results on that, but great job down there. It was a lot of fun to see back here on our end. Great.
Yeah,
it always
sure
is.
was.
Thank you. Yep.
Thanks, everybody,
right.
and thank you,
Thanks,
Katie.
guys.
Graeme and Katie will continue to be in the chat window along with Jason if you've got additional questions.